Everyone, and welcome to this quick insight tutorial of Photoshop CC 2020. My name is Tommy Bonte and I'm an educator at the Broby Grafiska High Vocational Education in Sunne. And as a hobby, I'm also working with giving out these kinds of tutorials to people who want to learn more about Photoshop. So let's start. This is this is perhaps not your first time in Photoshop, but what I normally want to do when I start with Photoshop is to go through the basics, of course. So let's just create a new document, and you can do that either by clicking this button, create new, or you can go for file in the head menu and choose new. So for this tutorial we're going to do Mickey Mouse. And why will we do Mickey Mouse? Why will we not do him in Illustrator, you might ask? And this is just simply because of the ways we will handle selections today. Because teaching selections is a good way also to teach filling inside Photoshop. So we will start out with this tutorial, so we will learn more about selections and how to make fill color. So let's make the Swedish name for Mickey Mouse just for the fun of it. And this is our resolution, which is now accordingly to pixels per inch. There's also pixels per centimeter, but let's go for inch, just to make it similar to how you work. We have a color mode, RGB, or some other color mode, but you will prefer RGB in the longer run. And we can also choose what kind of background we want to start with. Beneath the more advanced options there's color handling, and we can just hide them for now. Okay, so let's start with this. 20 by 20 centimeters, resolution of 300 pixels per inch. So this is what's happening. There's a new tab inside Photoshop who is opening, and if I press my key button, the tab button on my keyboard, you see that the window is switching. So we can have just a canvas view, or we can have a tool view. And we can also press the F button for full screen, or going back to seeing the tabs and all the tools. If I press my space bar and F, I can switch the color to my canvas. So just some quick key commandos. So to create Mickey the Mouse, first and foremost we must have some kind of ruler, and you see this is for me it's open by standard, and if you want to show this ruler you can go under view and you can press ruler, or you can press commando R or control R or on PC. Under view there is also the possibility to snap. Fästa is the word for Swedish, and I drag out a new let's see what's the name of it, a new guide, and I drag out a new guide from the horizontal way as well, just to see where the middle is. And as you can see, when I do like this, it snaps, and that's because I'm in the middle of the document. And this is the move tool in Photoshop, and with the move tool I'm able to move the guides back and forth, and if I want to remove them I simply click, hold and drag them back to the ruler. So then they're all gone. To create the head to Mickey Mouse, I need to create a new layer to fill this paint with. So to create a new layer, I can go down here to the layer panel, and I click the new layer button. And for Adobe Photoshop CC 2020, there's a new icon here for new layer. So I created a new layer, and to be able to fill a circle I first need to create a selection. And working with selections in Photoshop is primary. You need to know what a selection is to be able to mask and to fill and to select different kinds of things within images. So this is a type of a selection tool. This is the rectangular marquee tool, so you can get rectangular selections from this. And there's also elliptical marquee tool, and there's also more seldom used selection tools like single row and single column marquee tool. But we simply just want a circle, and to be able to choose a circle I right click this tool in the toolbar and I choose elliptical marquee tool. So when I drag out the circle like this, it's not uniform. As you can see, it's elliptical, and it starts from my point over here. If I want to create a proportional ellipse, I need to start from the middle of my cross. I click, I hold down my left mouse button, and when I drag this circle out, I push and hold down the Alt key or the Option key, which is new for Mac, and then I also press the Shift key. So the Alt key makes it start from where my crosshair started, and the Shift key is making it proportional. So I will make this about let's say 1275 maybe. And now this is important. Don't let go of your keys in this moment, because if you do, the circle will look like this. So to do this in the right way, I drag out, press down the Alt or Option key, press down the Shift key, and when when the size is correct, I first let go of the mouse key and then of my keyboard keys. So now I have a proportional circle or ellipse starting from the crosshair point. I still haven't filled this with any color, so my first layer is still empty. And if I want to use a black color, I can go to choose a black color. These are the colors to work with. So this is the foreground color and this is the background color. There is a default to Photoshop. So if I press the D key, or D for David, I go back to default colors. So D for default might be better to say. So black is now my foreground color and white is my background color. To fill the selection with my foreground color, I can simply hold down the Alt or Option key and press the backspace key. So now this selection has been filled with black color, and we can also see that on my thumbnail in my layer panel. There is of course other ways to fill this selection, but this might be the most simplistic way to do it. If you don't want to do it the key way, you can also go for the bucket, paint bucket tool, and just press the paint bucket while you're inside the selection. Or you can go for edit, fill, and then you can choose to fill with the foreground color, or you can choose any color if you want to. And as you can see, there are other options here as well, but I simply choose to show you the foreground color now. So there we go. There's the bottom head of Mickey Mouse. If there is something that you are uncomfortable, or you feel that something is not in the right way, you might want to go to the settings right away in Photoshop. Then you find in the Mac world, you find the settings beneath the head menu Photoshop, and then preferences. And on PC, you find them in edit and preferences. But in the Mac world, you find them beneath Photoshop, preferences, and then you have all categories here beneath general. One thing in particular that Photoshop offers is a lot of how do you say, it offers a lot of regression. So if you made something wrong, you might be used to press Commando Z, and to change how many states you want to be able to go backward to, you can go here and change it. So you can drag this up to 1,000 if you want to, but that will also slow down your computer. So instead of making too many mistakes, I will check regularly to see everything's okay. And something that is also very useful in the beginning is to go to the interface category and switch between different kinds of themes. If you want a more light theme or darker theme, I think I simply go back to what I started with. So all kinds of settings, you can find them here, and simply form them however you want them to be to feel comfortable in Photoshop. So we made the background head of Mickey the Mouse, and now I will make the ears to him. I will double click the text to change the layer name. To get rid of the selection, we can go to select and deselect, or press Commando D on a Mac, Control D on a PC. I go for a new ellipse. I press down my left mouse button, I drag this out, I hold down my Shift key, and I wait with my Alt key. If I hold down my Alt key, it will start from the point where my crosshair starts. But I find this somehow disturbing, and I want to move this selection now. And as you see, I can't move this with my Shift and Alt key down. So to move it during I hold down my Shift and Alt key / Option key, oops, I do this again, press down my left mouse button, I hold down Shift, I hold down the Alt key, and to move this now I hold down the space key, or the mellanslag as we say in Swedish. I let go of my mouse button, I let go of my keys, and now there is a selection for Mickey Mouse ear. I will create a new layer, but this time I will not create a new layer by clicking this icon. I will create a new layer by having a shortcut, so Command Shift N as in new layer. Then I have this dialog box. So now I don't have to double click the text afterwards to name my layer. Now I can simply name it during the creation. And I can also set a color if I want to. So why not orange? I will now color this black. So I hold down my Alt key and I press backspace key. I press Command D to deselect this. Now I want to copy this ear, and I want to send it to this side of Mickey Mouse. There are different ways to do this. Of course, Photoshop offers a lot of different ways to do it, and I will do it the most simplistic way first. I can go to the layer panel, and if I hold down the Command key and then press G as in jump, oops, Command key and G as in jump, I simply make a copy to this. And if I want to move this copy now, I press my V key as in victory. This will activate my move tool, and then I will be able to move my Mickey Mouse ear. So this is probably a symmetrical position, because now you can see Photoshop snaps the ear to the right. So this is probably a symmetrical proportion to the ear from the middle of Mickey's face. If I want these ears to be in the same layer, I can hold down my Shift key and I can right click and I can say merge layers. Double click and I name these ears. Now I want to move Mickey's face down a bit. I hold down the Shift key so I have both layers marked. I select my move tool if I don't have it selected already, and I press the mouse button and I force this down. What some people will notice is that if this selection box is marked, you will have this layer selected and you will click somewhere here, and then you will have another layer moved instead. And that's because you have this selection box marked. So if you don't like that way on how to select and move things, simply unclick this checkbox, and now you can select the layer, click and move from wherever you want. So we will carry on with making the mouth or the cheeks, maybe we can say, to Mickey. So I will start out with making a new layer. Cheeks, is it like this? And I will go for the ellipse tool and the short command for the ellipse tool is the, now let's see, it's a long time, the M key, as in Marcus or marquee. So if I want to switch between the tools underneath the ellipse, I can simply hold down the Shift key and I press the marquee or the M key, and then you see I switch between the rectangle and the circle or the ellipse. So now I have the ellipse. I go from the center position. I click and hold down the left mouse button. I hold down the Alt key to refer to the middle. So I guess the position of the cheeks will be about here. And then I will look for a color that is the color of Mickey's cheeks. Maybe this one. And if we do like this, I switched between the foreground and the background color. If my background color is the color that I want to color my selection with, instead of using the Alt backspace key or Option backspace key, I use my Command backspace key. Then I fill the selection with my background color instead. I will also make a background to the eyes of Mickey. And if I want to use the same selection that I've used previously, I can right click when the selection is active, and I also need to be inside the selection, because as you can see by now the icon is a white arrow with a rectangular marquee to the right of it, and now it's a crosshair. So if I click here, I will have different selections. Oh wait a moment, that's wrong of me. Seems to be the same. Anyhow, if I stand inside the selection, I right click, I will see I am able to transform the selection. And now you need to be careful, because this is usual that some of us is using the free transform sometimes instead of transforming the selection. So be careful to choose transform selection. So now I'm only transforming the selection. If I instead right click and choose free transform, I'm transforming the content within the selection. You saw how I denied this change. I can do that by clicking on this icon in the tool menu, or I can press escape on my keyboard. So now I want to rotate this selection. I right click, choose transform selection, and I will make this a bit like this, I think. And when I think it's okay, I press enter on my keyboard. So I make a new layer. Do you remember the shortcut? Command Shift N as in new layer. Background to eye. Okay. And to fill it my background color, I press Command backspace. Right. So now I have two options. I can use the selection to make a fill more over here, or I can make a copy of this layer and just move it to this side. What will I choose? I think I choose to copy and okay, let's just use the selection instead. Okay, so I right click, I go for transform selection, but now I want to reflect the selection. So when this bounding box is active around the selection, I right click again, and in in the bottom of this menu I find flip horizontal. So now you see it flips horizontal, but I want to use an anchor point. And there should be an anchor point here somewhere. Let's check out where there it is. So if I click this box, I get an anchor point, and now I will reflect this selection from this point, not from the middle. So I right click, choose flip horizontal, and now you see it uses this point instead of this point to flip. I pressed enter now, and I have no color, but that's very soon fixed. I think I just closer to the middle, and now I press command backspace. So there's just one thing left now, and that's just a little chin to him here in the bottom. I think I use the same selection. First command shift N as a new layer. Then I use this selection. I will transform it. And now it's a bit hard to know if it's correct in a proportional way. So maybe I do a new selection, or I use this shape from an old, from the cheeks layer. So I press escape, I press command D to deselect. Here I have the cheeks layer, and to know it is this shape I can press the I to hide and reveal the shape. So I press command G as in jump, as it should say, but I have a copy now, and I rename this copy to chin. I think I throw this in the bin, and I can then press backspace, or let's regret that step, undo, and you can also just drag it to the bin. So I select the chin, and now I use the move tool. I drag this down, and to be sure I not go in any other direction than vertical, I can hold down the shift key. So now I'm closed on a vertical step, or on a vertical step, or in different angles if the snap functionality is not active. And to be able to transform this chin shape, I will now use one of Photoshop's most common functionalities, a transform tool. So I have the layer chin selected, and the shortcut for the transform tool is then of course command T, but you can also go in this menu and choose free transform. Beneath free transform there's a transform, and there you have all kinds of transforming, but you can also choose the free transform tool and then right click to have one of these categories chosen. I choose the free transform, And to Photoshop 2020, there's a proportional scaling active from the start. It wasn't like this in versions before. To deactivate this, you have to go into the settings panel, to the preference panel, and change this. Otherwise, you need to hold down the shift key to make it unproportional. So to have it as it was before, you need to go in the preference panel. Now I would like a proportional scale. So I just drag this from the corner and I move this into the middle. And it snaps just fine. Let's put it over there and I press enter. Okay, so this might start to look like Mickey Mouse. Now let's have a new layer for some eyes, and we actually have some eyes here, as you can see. Unfortunately, they are a bit tight to each other. Otherwise, we could have used these color fills and their selection to just create a new eye from them. But I think I will make a new eye and show you how to use the rotation tool inside selection, transforming the selection. So let's make a new layer. Command Shift N as a new layer. And the eye, and I deselect this, Command D. I choose the ellipse tool, or the ellipse marquee tool. I drag out what I see as an eye. Maybe a bit small. I can make it bigger, like this. And now I would like to rotate it, so I right click, I go for the transform selection, and then I rotate this a bit. Okay. And I press enter. There we go. This eye needs to be clipped here. Since Mickey also has a very big nose, the eye will be hidden by it. So to have a good eye for Mickey, I will need to subtract the shape of the nose with this new selection I made. I will then go to the nose here, or is it the cheek? Yeah, it's the cheek. And to choose a selection by the fills we have in layers, we can press the Command key. And as you see, when I do that, I have a symbol right to my hand. I have this hand normally just when I select layers in my layer panel, but if I hold down my Command key or Control key on a PC, I will have this symbol. And when I click this symbol, I will make a selection for the filling inside this layer. So as you can see, now the selection for the cheek is back. I will undo this step so I have my selection for the eye back. So I press Command Z. Now I want this shape to subtract this selection. To be able to do that, I will hold down my Command key and I will hold down my Alt key or Option key. And now you can see, oops, and now you can see there's a minus to my little icon here. And that indicates that I will subtract the selection I have with the selection that is being created within this layer. So I hold down my Command key, I hold down my Alt key, and I click. Oops, what just happened? I zoomed in. So zooming in Photoshop isn't that hard. I can just press the zoom tool, or I can click Z to activate it. And this is something called scrubby zoom, like a seamless zoom in and out, and you can deactivate that in the panel and use just a traditional window zoom like this. So if I hold down the Alt key, I will zoom out. And if you are in this position, it's a bit agitating to zoom out all the time. Just press Command 0 instead, and you will return to 100% view, or a view that is covering all the material. So here's the eye, and this is now the new selection that has been that is a result of this subtraction. I go to the eye layer. I have a white color as a foreground color. I then press Alt Backspace, and I deselect by clicking Command D. So this is the eye. Now I will make a new eye. I press Command G to make a copy, and then I will press Command T to transform the content within this layer. I take this little reference mark, I put it in the middle, I right click, and I choose Flip Horizontal. Now I have two eyes. So either I press Enter or I press this this button. Well, low battery, so I have to do this fast. Or can I just go get a charger? Okay, so we're back on track. We created the eyes. I hold down my Shift key and press this layer, right click and merge this layer. Double click the text and rename the layer to eye. We need a nose, of course. I will take a new layer, and if I like to click this button, but I want to have the dialog box to rename the layer at once, I can simply hold down the Alt key while pressing the new layer button. Then I have the dialog box as well. So I name this nose, maybe a green color. Okay. So I go for the ellipse tool, I go to the middle, I click, hold down the left button, I hold down my Alt key, and if I want to move this down now, I can hold down the space key. Let go of my mouse button, let go of my keys. I want to have this black, so I need to use my default color. I press D. I have the black as a foreground color, and now I press Alt Backspace to fill this selection with black. And now I deselect with Command D. Okay, so there's a nose. I need some eyes. I need a mouth. I think I will copy the nose of Mickey to make the mouth. So let's press Command G, double click, name it mouth. And then I choose the move tool. I can just simply press V as in victory, and I hold down my shift key to go further down. I want to use the shape of the cheek layer again to clip this mouth. So I go to my layer panel, I hold down my my command key or control key on a PC, and I press the thumbnail, this little image of the cheek layer. And now this is a filling. I need to make sure I selected the right layer, the mouth layer, where this content is located, and then I simply just press backspace. Now everything that's selected will be removed. Command D to deselect. So there's the mouth. We need an eye or two eyes, so I will make, or how do you say, pupils. Yeah, I think so. So I press Command Shift N as a new layer, pupils, and I take it's funny, when I hover I have a Swedish translation, and right clicking I have the English for it. Cool. So I make the eyes about this. I have some transformation to the selection. I just rotate it a bit. I click enter or click this icon. I think I would like to have the eyes clipped about here, where the pupils are right about here. And I press Alt backspace, right? And I press Command D. I would like to have a pupil to this eye as well. So I press Command G. I press Command T or go to the Edit button in the head menu and go for Free Transform. I have the reference point, which is triggered by clicking this one, and I move this reference point to my guide of the middle. I right click and I choose flip horizontal, and I'm fine with that. Okay, so I have actually two options here. I can make a clipping mask to these eyes, or I can simply just clip them with the cheek as I did before. But just to give you a taste of what is coming, and to make or to use a workflow that is non-destructive, we can hide these the bottom of these pupils without destroying the shape. And how do we do that? First, I will hold down my shift key and select these, right click and merge these layers. Then I will send these pupils right above the eyes. And now I will tell this layer that this layer is the layer that will clip the artwork within this layer. So this layer will be using a clipping mask in shape of the content that is located in this layer. If I hold down my Alt key, I will have a symbol like this. Hold down the Alt key. For new keyboards it's Option, remember that. So you have this kind of symbol, and you only get this symbol when you're standing on the line between the two layers. I hold down the Alt key and I click. So now the shapes of the pupils will only be visible within the area that is defined as a clipping mask to them. Neat, isn't it? So thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you've learned something about selection and filling inside Photoshop. Next time we will learn more about layer masks. Have a nice day.